Jenna. Oh God, stop. That is not what I want.
But it did echo quite a bit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Good
still
now.
getting like? I'm good now. Okay, yeah. I
Yep.
turned my volume down on my computer.
Okay. Yep. We hear you now.
All right. And unfortunately, I had to be off site today, and I walked out without my little what is that thing called?
Oh, the sign?
The thing you sent us. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. You can use thumbs up and thumbs down. No big deal.
Okay. And then I'm trying to get the video, start video.
There you go. And I'll
Am
pop
I there? Oh, I am there.
Here in just a couple minutes. I'm getting
now
myself situated.
So just for my own knowledge, you said this was kind of going to be, on the fly. You may call on people to talk about what they'd experienced through the pandemic or done within ARCOS. Is that because this was nothing scripted?
Correct. It's really more. We'll do a couple, introductions, and then it's really more of a roundtable for people to discuss different topics.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. We will get started in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to do a 5-minute warning here in a minute or so, and then we'll get started right at noon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome to the meeting, everyone. My name is Jenna Teeters. We have people joining as we speak, and we'll get started in about 5 minutes. Welcome to those of you that just signed in. This is our 1-minute bell, and we'll start the roadshow right at noon. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to this virtual session. My name is Jenna Teeters, Director of Marketing here at ARCOS, and it's great to see so many people on the line today. We're happy to gather. I'm so glad that you're able to join us for what I think is going to be a unique interactive experience virtually. I know you all received your care packages, hopefully, and I'm sure you'll put the thumbs up, down sign to good use. If you don't have it, good old fashioned thumbs up and thumbs down is good as well. So typically we do these mini conferences in the summer and in person. And while we wish we could have kept our schedule, I don't want to tell you that COVID put a bit of a damper on everyone's travel and meeting plans this year. But despite that, we are looking forward to seeing everyone's faces and connecting with you all in a new way today. So to enjoy this session to its fullest potential, you need 3 things ideally. You need a laptop, a smartphone, tablet, or a second screen, and your signs if you received those. I know there are a couple people, maybe in Canada and one other. Unfortunately, there were some delays with FedEx. Hopefully you got what you needed. But if you don't have a second screen, totally fine. I just suggest you have a second tab open if possible. So Zoom instructions. For those of you new to Zoom, or if you just need a refresher, the mute button and arrows allow you to turn your microphone on and off. And also that's where you have your speaker options. The start video button is how you share your webcam. And if you click the arrow next to it, you can choose camera options and use a virtual background if you'd like. And if you click participants, you can use it to see who is on the call, but also take note of the raise hand button. If you have a question, need to stop and clarify, would like to make a comment on the technical side, please use that. You can also change your username by hovering over your name and clicking rename. And if you could please take a moment to do so and put your first and last name, that would be great, so we can moderate the session a little bit more efficiently. And the Q&A button on this webinar will be used for technical questions only. We have Jonathan from our marketing team managing those. He'll be answering all your technical questions if you're having any issues. And in just a moment, I'll show you the fun technology we'll be using for interactive product questions, comments, and some other fun things. So if you could now, please turn your camera on, as we and your fellow peers would like to see your wonderful faces, and allow for participation with the signs, which we'll explain more about in just a minute. So this year, to encourage new ways to interact during these roadshows, we've deployed a new interactive software to help determine topics for the roundtable portion and to allow you to comment and ask questions during the session. You can use the QR code here to join on your phone, or the website listed here with the meeting ID 14263 if you have another monitor or another tab open. And this will take you to the live Q&A screen, and you can feel free to submit questions or just comment on the content or to others during the presentation. We'll make time for a few questions at the end as well, so you can submit those throughout. And if we don't get to them live, we'll definitely follow up with an answer for you within 24 hours. So if everyone could please do this now, log into Slido either way. And if you have any technical issues, submit them through the Zoom platform so that Jonathan can help. And in addition to Slido, we've sent you some props for the roundtable in order to promote interaction. So before in the roundtables, after someone had voiced their point of view or told their story, we gave the group the opportunity to agree, disagree, and explain. Rather than have everyone talk at once, we can use the signs to help make the process smooth and to help us identify people who'd like to speak. And we will be calling on you occasionally. So if it gets too quiet, please be ready. We appreciate your participation today. So let's do a practice round with the signs. So everyone who's got a sign, or you can just thumbs up, thumbs down, totally fine. Here's the practice round. All right, Game of Thrones is the best show of all time. There you go. Oh, thanks. Hi. Oh, there you go. Some conflict. I like it. I like it. Okay, and then if I see there are a couple other people online, if you could just share your camera, that would be great as well. And then we'll do one more practice round just because I like to fuel the fire a little bit. New York style pizza is better than Chicago style pizza. Yes or no? Oh, there we go. Thumbs up. Oh, thumbs down, thumbs up. Oh, lots of conflict here too. Love it. Love it. Okay, so now that that practice round is over, let me get back to the presentation here. Hopefully everyone's ready. We're ready to get started. Let's get to know each other. So I'm going to call on each one of you, and if you please just state your name, your utility, kind of what you're responsible for in your title, and what ARCOS solutions you have, if any. That would be great, just to get to know each other before we dive into the topics. Okay? So, Ronnie, I'll start with you. You're at the top of my screen.
Oh.
Hey, Ronnie, I think you're on. Oh, I'm sorry, there are two Ronnies. Oh my goodness. Ronnie Crossan, sorry about that. Ronnie Crossan, go first. You're on mute. I'm sorry, you're on mute. Well, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Harold, up next.
Hey there, everybody. Obviously, Harold. Lee County Electric Co-op down in Fort Myers, Florida. A project administrator, basically looking at processes and things that go awry and trying to fix those issues. Currently, we only have ARCOS call out, but John Chapman, a great sales guy, and a couple other people have just demoed the crew manager and a couple other pieces. So hopefully we be getting those next year, but we'll see what the powers that be are. We've been trying for, what, 3 years now, John, or something like that to get it in. So maybe this is the year. So.
That's great. Thank you. Jim Heller. Like he's still on mute. Okay, David.
Hey, Jenna, good morning. Good afternoon,
Good morning.
I guess, we're wherever. Dave Ponlin with Upper Peninsula Power Company here in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. About 58,000 customer electric utility. If you're familiar with the state of Michigan, it's the northern part, the part that borders on the Canadian border, so Lake Superior. We're system operations here, system operation manager. We typically just use ARCOS call out. We have had a couple other demos with crew manager and things of that sort. At this point, I'm basically just trying to learn how others are using it and see what they like, what they dislike, and see if we can incorporate that in our business up here. So I'm largely fact finding at this point, listening to other folks and seeing where we can go from there.
Great. Thank you so much. And then Jim, it looks like you're unmuted now.
Yeah, I finally figured out how to unmute myself.
That's good.
You didn't send those directions. So I'm Jim Heller with Duke Energy. We've got the whole gamut of ARCOS tools: crew manager, resource assist, call out, ARCOS mobile, smart, etc. And I am a senior business and technology consultant. And we're in 6 states: Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, North and South Carolina, Florida, and we have gas as well, which is also in Tennessee.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Patrick, you're up next.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me, Jenna?
Yes, you can.
Good. Patrick Turner, Alabama Power, Distribution Control Center Supervisor. We've been with ARCOS since, I think, either late 2002 or early 2003. You know, still basically just using the call out feature. We are kind of interested in those who know about Crew Manager. I want to get some more insight on that, but just glad to be with you today. Thank you. And sorry about the video. I had to change computers at the last minute.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Thank you. Sarah, up next. Maybe. We can't hear you, Sarah. Okay, we'll move on to the next. Jamie Conover.
Hey, Jenna, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. So I'm Jamie Conover with Duke Energy. I work alongside Jim. I am a lead business and technical consultant, and our team does all of the supporting of ARCOS within Duke. And as Jim shared, we do have almost the whole gamut of tools available from ARCOS. And I'm actually located out of our Cincinnati office.
Okay, great. Mike Lewis.
Hi, Jenna. Hi, everybody. I'm going to get my video going here. Oh,
Thanks.
a little off on the shot there. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm operations with Ameren, Missouri. We're 1.2 million electric customers, about 120,000 gas customers in the state of Missouri. We've been call-out users since around 2014, crew manager since 2016, working on putting Workbench into place, formerly SAM6, Resource Assist, a couple of other things that we're looking at in 2021, which we can all just not wait for it to get here. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to hear what the Southeast had been through, because you guys have really been through the ringer this year with all the hurricanes. So appreciate the opportunity to join.
Great, thank you. Ronnie Crossan, we'll go back to you. Here. Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me
we
now?
Can. Yep, that's
Yay.
perfect.
Okay. My name's Ronnie Crossan. I work for TECO in Tampa, Florida, and I am a technology consultant. I am the only support for pretty much most of the suite that ARCOS offers. I'm the only support person in the company other than when we go into storm. I have a few people that join me in support in those operations. Like I said, we have pretty much everything ARCOS has to offer, including call out, crew manager, vacation management, resource assist, and smart.
Great, thank you so much. And then the other Ronnie.
That must be me. It's
Yes.
My name's Ronnie. I'm with Smeco in Maryland. We just recently purchased Crew Manager and actually just recently talked with Ronnie Crossan about their adventure with it, which was very helpful. We just put that into production not that long ago and are still kind of learning the ins and outs of it, but everything seems to be going well.
Great. Thank you so much. And then Kyra.
Hi, Jenna. Kyra Ellis, New Hampshire Electric Co-op, Service Continuity Supervisor. We have ARCOS call out, Crew Manager, and SMART, and we just put a business case in for Resource Assist, Incident Manager, and Mobile Workbench.
Great. Thank you so much. And then I do have someone with an 813 area code. I'm not able to see their name.
That's me, Jenna.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Perfect. I see. Okay. Well, on the line today from the ARCOS side, I'm just going to introduce everyone if that's okay, just for time's sake. But we have Jim Nowak, John Chapman, who is an account manager in the Southeast. Jim Nowak, your new title is, you're going to have to help me with your new title. Sorry.
I'm in a customer success organization. My title is really operations, services, and product.
Great. Thank you so much. And then we also, from the marketing team, we have Jonathan Stifler, who I mentioned is managing the technical side of things today. So thanks to him, this is all working and running smoothly so far. And then also we have Tyler Jack, who's on our demand generation team. He'll be taking notes so that if anyone has questions, we can get back to you within 24 hours. So thank you so much. And now we'll start the presentation or the roundtable. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to join Slido if you haven't already. Join with this QR code or with slido.com. The meeting code is 14263 and it'll bring you up to that live Q&A, but I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll for this. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Should be up there. So this question, what happens is, let me get back to my instructions here. So here's the deal. Please enter 1 to 2 answers to this question. And after that, you can see other answers for the word cloud. So if you'd like to agree with another answer, start typing in that answer and it will auto-populate and you can resubmit that answer. So as more answers get resubmitted, the phrase or word will get bigger in that word cloud. And the top 3 biggest challenges will be our topics for the roundtable. So give me 1 moment. I will go ahead and show the poll. And if you can just answer the question of what has been your biggest operations challenge during the pandemic? And if you have any, feel free to go off of mute and just ask me. I can kind of help you work through this process as well. There we go. I see it here.
I was going to say, Jenna, as a non-utilities operation professional, am I allowed to participate in, like, you know, getting out of my pajamas is one of the hardest?
Yeah, I mean, go for it. It probably won't make it to the top 3, but if you'd like to put that in there, that would be great. Okay, we have a couple answers. We'll just give you 2 or 3 minutes. You can submit those and then resubmit anything you see that you agree with. That would be great. Great.
Keeping your pets off of your camera during Zoom meetings.
That's a real challenge for me. And then as people are filling these out, I'm going to add them to the PowerPoint. So that way the top 3 topics we can put up on the screen, and then we'll do a roundtable discussion about those 3 topics. So just give you another couple of minutes. Some great answers coming through. Okay. Oh, there we go. Then I'm gonna combine a couple of these.
I think for the next road shows that we hold later on throughout the year, we should insert Jeopardy music to
I know, right? I need
really
to
start stressing
here.
everybody out that, that they only have
it.
so much time
that
left.
might be too anxiety producing. Okay, so let me just combine. I've combined a couple of these, and just I'm gonna put general here. Okay, so thank you for your participation in this. Right now, I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint, and we're gonna look at the top 3-ish that have popped up today. I combined a couple of things that were in the same theme so we can talk about both. Okay. Let me get everyone back on my screen here. All right, so here's how this is gonna work. Now that we have our top 3 topics, if you will, for the roundtable, I'm gonna just kind of lead the discussion, ask you some questions, go through. I am going to call on all of you if that's okay. And if it's not, just unmute yourself and say like, pass on to the next person if something has come up. But I am going to call on all of you. We're going to find your top challenges, and then we're going to unmute and have a discussion. Okay. So I'm going to choose Jamie first and say, Jamie, what has been your biggest challenge with social distancing or contact tracing, or both?
I would say that with the social distancing part, we tried to create crews that would be working together. Our biggest problem with that is with us being in different, we call them jurisdictions in Florida, Carolinas, and the Midwest and stuff. Everybody was doing it differently. So there was no overarching way that we could do it. And I think one of the biggest challenges we faced with that was we couldn't have it the same in Ohio, Kentucky as we did in Indiana or in North Carolina or South Carolina. It was like we had to do different things with different areas. And that was one of the most challenging things we had.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Has anyone else dealt with this? There's not a whole lot of people on video, but have you dealt with it, or if you have a good solution to it, if you can just unmute yourself and give us some knowledge or commiserate with Jamie here. Anyone else?
Well, at Lee County Electric Co-op, we broke our teams into, we don't stagger them anymore. We were going through storm season and we were not pairing crews up together. For example, if one person was on rest, we were having them go out as a single man crew so that they could not be necessarily in contact with somebody else all day. But that encounters its own problems, especially on trouble when, you know, we have to change out a pole or something like that that requires more than 2 men, and getting them in that situation, as well as potentially bringing in tree crews and things like that. So what we try to do is during the day minimize the interactions with the line crews, with the warehouse and everything else by supplying the warehouse a list of work orders to go out that day, per crew where they would stage them out in the yard, created a sheet for truck stock for them to use for trouble calls, so that we minimize that contact with the other people. I think the biggest problem with the contract tracing is we have the information in so many different systems. We have it in 2 different systems, and getting that information on, okay, lineman A had potential contact or tested positive, who else worked with them within a certain period? We would have to look at multiple systems for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great. Is anyone using, just curious, is anyone using Crew Manager to help combat some of those challenges that Jamie and Harold just mentioned?
Hi, Jenna, this is Ronnie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed what they were, I missed a little bit of what they were discussing earlier. I had a slight interruption, but a couple of things that Tico did is, yes, we did convert Crew Manager. As you know, for anyone that's already purchased Crew Manager, they know that you always look at 2 forms of operation prior to COVID happening, which was normal operations and storm or emergency. And COVID was a completely different animal. So combining some restructuring within operations, we also utilized Crew Manager, building an additional type of response for COVID. I had to go in and make some adjustments for that type of operation. We took our daily crews as far as doing the contact tracing. What the company did is they split our crews across all the service areas into weekly groups. So if we had 10 crews in one service area, 5 of them worked an entire week together. The other 5 worked the next week. All of the trucks and tools and everything were disinfected daily. The same crews, the same people had to stay together on the same crew. So if it was a 4-man crew, the same 4 men worked together all 5 days of the week. And then, as I said, because of that, it affected a lot of things. For call outs, we had to restructure and move away from our IBEW contract call out stipulations and move away from the rosters that we had built for call out. We converted over to utilizing Crew Manager for those call outs, also removing the responsibility of call out generation from our system operations into the hands of the service area supervisors. And those call outs were targeted that only the people that worked that day were the same people that could be called out, so that you were never having mixed interactions with different crews. Mm-hmm. And as I said, we did utilize Crew Manager. I could give a quick show of it if anyone wanted to see it. It's really just a different grouping within Crew Manager and how we put the crews together. If anyone wants to see it, I'm happy to show it.
Great.
Ronnie, was that done through perspectives? Did you just have a new,
yes.
a COVID perspective,
no.
I guess?
No, what we did when we implemented Crew Manager, we started to work with multiple perspectives in order to address different types of operations. But we found that the simplest thing for the end user was to build a more complex view and filters relative to a perspective, so that we can change from one operation style to the next without any service area having to change the perspective that they're working within.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. No,
you're welcome.
a lot of work, and you make it seem very, very organized. Patrick,
well, it is now, but it takes time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for sharing that. Patrick,
you're welcome.
Unmuted. Are you having some of those similar challenges as this group, or how have you been combating those for social distancing and crew management?
I did tell what Ronnie said. Of course, we don't have crew manager. We had to go back into ARCOS, and we identified, like she said, keeping a team, the same team of people together, 5 or 6 crew members together, because usually that will be enough to change out your basic pole. And just using call out to call that team out when we needed them. On the inside, in the control center side, our social distancing was, we had a great effort to push our operators and assistants on teleworking. So we dramatically cut down on the number of employees inside the control center and had set up teleworking shifts and had people teleworking from home. So we actually worked Tropical Storm Cristobal with most of the people teleworking from home. Obviously, some people lost power, so that was an obstacle that you had to overcome. But for the most part, it has worked out great. We figured out how to communicate through Microsoft Teams on having a chat with everybody. And our phone system was the other biggest hurdle. How do you tell somebody when a phone call comes into the center that the phone's for them, but they're sitting, 40 miles away from that location to pick that phone? So we had some technological hurdles to overcome also that we worked out. So it's worked so well, and I'm sure like other companies, that our employees have asked that we find some type of permanency to the teleworking even after COVID is over. It just gives them a better quality of life that they thought, where they can work some shifts at home or have the option to come into work. So it's worked out pretty well for us.
Okay, great. Sarah, I saw that you have joined on the phone. I'm curious to get the Canadian perspective.
Hi, Jenna. Thanks for the quick intro. My name's Sarah Ritchie, and I'm from Hydro One up in Ontario, Canada. Pretty similar to the discussions we just had about social distancing and separating crews. Our field folks are spread across the province, so they're already in groups of 20. And to manage social distancing in some of our more remote operation centers, we had them paired up with a buddy, and they were pretty much just coming into work, getting in their truck and going off to get work done. So we were trying to limit their amount of time within the office and obviously their contact with other employees. But from a control center perspective, we had multiple approaches going on throughout the pandemic. At the beginning, we actually split our operations between our backup control center and our primary, and then had dedicated crews working together on a set schedule so that contact tracing would be easier and limit the exposure to the folks within the center. And we've since moved back to our primary control center, but are still in a crew format. So that allows us to manage contact tracing easier, as well as limit the risk.
Great, thank you. And then Ronnie from Southern Maryland, how about you?
Yes, Jenna, we have a crew manager, but again, we didn't have it set up at the time when COVID started. And we were just utilizing our normal call out process with ARCOS. And we had to adjust as well to keep crews together. And also with the trucks, we actually had a fleet of rental cars come in, so the men wouldn't even ride together in the same vehicles, which made it a little bit more of a struggle. But all in all, it's worked out pretty well for us.
That's great. And then let's see who's next. David. I see that you're off mute, but for some reason we can't hear you.
Oh, that's how you got to turn the microphone on. That's how that works. We've gone to a split shift schedule where we're running day shifts in our primary center and night shifts in our backup center. Kind of like the lady before me alluded to. We've got a 6-week cycle, 6-week schedule where, we've only generally have people working for 3 weeks and then 3 weeks at home. So we haven't gone to a crew, like other folks have alluded to. We have not gone to an A and a B crew, or whatever, 1 and a 2. It doesn't matter how you label it, but been pretty successful with the days and nights type split right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we already heard from Jamie, but Jim, let's get your perspective. Jim Heller.
Jenna, this is Jamie. Jim had to step away for a moment. So he said, I can answer for him, but I don't know what I'd be answering that I didn't share already.
No, that's all right. Thank you so much. And then
I was going to add one thing that we sort of struggled with at first was, during call out, we had split up into, as they've shared, team A, team B, team C, so that we wouldn't have that interaction between crews. But with call out, we were running into some issues because if we needed, say, a lineman A and an apprentice, but I need to make sure I have a lineman A, I had to make sure they came from the same team. So if I had a lineman A that accepted from team A, I needed an apprentice from team A, or I would not be able to call the lineman A out. So there was some manipulation we had to do around that with the call outs, but I think we started getting that squared away with our control centers.
Great. Thank you. And then Kyra.
Do single person to a vehicle. Still to this day, if we have a call out where we need to send 4 individuals, they are in 4 separate vehicles. That was good at first, but as we continue down our path, we're getting some pushback because we can't control what people are doing after work. So even if you're in a single person vehicle separately, but you're working an outage together, there's nothing saying that you can't go out and grab dinner after work. So that has been a very recent challenge for us here. Is we've been home except for line, everyone's been home for about 7 months. So people are starting to get lax. So our biggest challenge is keeping employee morale up and explaining to them that social distancing is still important. For our control center, we are not NERC. We're not under the NERC jurisdiction, so we do have one control center person working from home, and we have one person in the control center on days and one person in the control center on nights. So that helps limit exposure and easily maintain contact tracing. We did utilize ARCOS crew manager to manage our crews that were out there working together.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Is anyone else dealing with that, maintaining, let's say, that like drop off and maintaining precautions after work? Is anyone else struggling with that? Because I obviously, like Kyra mentioned, can't really control what someone does when they're not at work. But do you have any good strategies on how you've been able to, engage employees so that they're still taking precautions outside of work? Or are you struggling with the same thing? I'm looking for who goes off mute.
Jenna, this is Jamie. I don't really have anything specifically to add to that. It's once the guys or gals leave to head home, we really don't have much control. But we do emphasize, the after hours social distancing and contact and that kind of stuff. We do try to emphasize that with our portal and everything and trying to keep them educated. But we don't have anything in place that we actually can control that.
Yeah.
Other than education.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. As far as contact tracing goes, Harold, you mentioned a few things that you were doing for contact tracing. Is anyone else using similar strategies or maybe using ARCOS to help with contact tracing as well? And how is that working out for you? Anyone? Okay. Well, we will go on to the next topic then. So this is kind of along the lines of what we were just talking about, but maintaining productivity popped up as the largest in the word cloud for this roundtable. And obviously that's a very broad topic. Can someone tell me an example of what you mean by that, since you added it to the list? I'm gonna start calling on people.
Hey, Jenna,
oh, there you go.
I'll jump on the grenade for everybody. I
Thanks.
wrote that down because LCC's been working over the last 6 years to get the lineman productivity up. We created measures for them that they're not gauged on, but the supervisors were able to see before we went to a new system. And we have seen that our crews were doing more customer work than previously and relying less upon the contractors to do the makeup of the customer work, which allowed the contractors to do more system hardening projects, longer term projects. We could devote several crews onto something else that's not just putting new services in. We put in about maybe 300, 400 services a month. So we're able to accomplish that mostly with LCC crews. Obviously, we're like every other co-op. We have more work than we could do with the limited resources we have, so keeping that productivity up has helped LCC start dropping SAIDI and getting contractors to work on more important projects, such as the hardening, the targeted pole change out projects, reconducting, things like that. So keeping that up, that's been a challenge because we've gone from paper to electronic. The supervisors, it's less visible for the supervisors to see what the crews have done or left the yard with and what they returned or were unable to complete. So we've grown in that over the last 6 months, but we're still, focusing on making sure that's still happening.
Okay, great. And you bring up a good point. This has come up in the other roadshows in the other regions, which is and it's kind of a mixed answer. Some are good cases like yours where you're actually getting more of those like long-term projects done, and some of them have been disrupted by COVID. So I'm just curious about this group and maintaining productivity, work management, work prioritization. Has that changed in COVID? And it sounds like for you, Harold, it's changed a little bit for the better. You're seeing a little bit more productivity and work done on long-term projects. Is anyone else having a result like that, or have long-term projects moved because of COVID and how you've had to change your operations? I'm gonna call on Patrick.
Hey, Jenna, yeah, we had to change. We actually lost productivity because naturally our union came to us with the concern about having their employees exposed in the public. So we had to go in and identify crew jobs as essential versus non-essential work. Those things that were significantly relating to the maintenance of the distribution or transmission system, that was essential work. But things like lighting repairs and some other smaller jobs of that nature was not deemed non-essential, was not deemed essential work. So those type of jobs had to be put off. And we actually got very far behind on those, allowing our crews to get some at-home time. So some of them would work maybe a few hours during the day to get the essential work done for that day. And then the rest of the time they would be station at home unless we got a trouble call that we needed them to come out on. So it really affected our productivity on our workload.
Yeah, and you're not alone for sure. Like I said, the roadshows in each region, it was kind of a mixed result in this case. Sarah, I'm going to call on you, and I'm just curious to see how productivity has been affected either way at Hydro One.
Very similar actually to what Patrick just mentioned. So we stopped what was classified as any non-essential work. So basically most of our capital work project, unless it was deemed critical for expanding the grid in Ontario. So we lost about 3 months of a lot of that project work. We were essentially just focused on responding to any trouble or emergency situations during that period of time and had crews stood down. We did end up resuming work once some of the restrictions lifted in late spring, and we have continued to resume our core work program and are trying to meet some of our targets for this year, but it definitely had an impact on our productivity field-wise.
Mm-hmm. And do you have visibility into that work and the status of it throughout the day, like in real time? Or is that something you have to wait until people bring back work packets or something like that?
So part of our emergency response was ensuring that the planning and the ordering of those materials and anything required for those projects continued while we were stood down, so that when we could resume work, that we were essentially ready to go. Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, we're 100% back up and running with all of our work program and those projects. Mm-hmm. And that's managed at the field level.
Great, thank you.
Jen, if I could ask a question, I hear about this a lot from my customers too, is capital and construction projects on halt until things are lifted. Does anybody have any stories, and maybe we'll start with Sarah and then the rest of the group, about what may be being discussed at your utility to play catch up? Is there any sort of process change, or are you doing some hiring? Are you considering bringing in additional contractor resources to kind of hit some of these benchmarks that you were anticipating before the pandemic? Is there any strategy or game plan your utility is deploying that maybe we could all learn something from to catch up?
At this time, we've just extended our working hours and work weeks. So we have a maximum of 60 hours our unionized employees are allowed to work, and they've been offering that overtime. They haven't brought in additional contractors at this time, but we do have quite a large casual construction workforce that's on with us most of the year until winter, and then they're laid off. And I could see that they may potentially be working through the winter, which isn't usual for us.
Okay.
That's interesting, Sarah. Thank you.
No problem.
Let's see. I'm looking through the topic list here. I do have a question. I know a lot of you came here for this in particular. Is, as we know, the Southeast has been rocked this year with storms and hurricanes and flooding. And just curious to know, one, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had managing social distancing, crews, restoration work all together this year, and how are you combating those? Because it seems like, at least from Columbus, you've been getting hit time after time this year a little bit more intensely, if you will. Jamie, I'm gonna call on you just because I know you have kind of territories all over the United States, and just to see how you are managing all those different factors this year.
So to be truthfully honest, our service territories have not been impacted that much. It's hit all around us, and we have provided support to those areas. Most of the processes that we've gone through is we're just continuing with our crews to tell them to continue what they're doing at home as far as trying to social distance and stay within their own work groups, and sanitize and wash their hands and all that fun stuff. And we've tried to do that with them, having them continue that on when they go on for mutual assistance. But as far as things we've done within our own group, with our own company, we try to again, practice the social distancing, keeping crews more segregated than what they were before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Jim would have anything to add to that or not.
Okay. Jim Heller, you're
Yeah,
back.
so yeah, I'm back. So like Jamie said, we've depending on the jurisdiction, we've handled it all differently between the crews. More in the Midwest, we've tried to break them out between crew A, B, and C, and try to keep them all within their own little pods, and they don't cross over. So if they're called out, Team A has to report, and if they don't get enough, we have to call Team A back and say, well, don't come in. Then we call Team B because they won't cross-contaminate, so to speak, the crews. Kind of a little bit different in Indiana. If they don't get enough, they will call someone else from a different pod to get it filled in. But they handle it a little bit differently. And then everywhere else in Carolinas and in Florida, they just handle that by ops center. And don't actually break them out into pods, so to speak, but they just know that they have to social distance. They meet outside. They don't hardly come into the office at all. And they just meet up in groups and work groups and social distance on sites.
Mm-hmm. And if you're using, and this is a question for you, Jim, and then I'll open it up to the group. If you're sending people for mutual assistance, are they expected to follow your COVID rules or the utilities that they're going to's COVID rules? And are you tracking them in any way? Right.
Yeah, so when we send our crews, we're usually have self-contained crews, so it's all in one. Send work management and everything else. So we don't intermingle with any of the utilities, so we do follow our COVID rules.
Okay, great. Ronnie, I'm gonna call on you. I know you have a significant amount of contractors. How has that changed how you manage your crews and social distancing, or is that just they're expected to follow your rules and they're just incorporated into your crews? Ronnie Crossan.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
Unfortunately, I don't really have a lot to offer here because we also have not been affected, knock on wood. We've been very lucky, and we're approaching the 1st of November, so hopefully we'll be out of the storm season very soon.
Mm-hmm.
We have provided crews in other areas in Louisiana, and unfortunately, because I am not embedded in operations now, I did not learn a lot about what transpired when we sent those crews, other than learning some things that we might want to do in addition within crew manager with the lodging function, which is that we've not started using lodging yet, and it was always looked at as something to use when we bring crews in, but now we're looking at it, how to utilize it for.
Yeah, Ronnie, I think we might have lost you.
Oh,
there you go. Sorry, you broke
I'm
up.
here?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay. But anyway, that's really all I have to offer, is just that it's, kind of brought up, different ways to utilize the platform that we will be looking into in the very near future. But like I said, we were lucky, and we've not been affected by any storms in our service territory this storm season.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this line of questioning would be fantastic for our friends in Louisiana and Texas this year, but I'm sure with the way this date is lined up with just the wild season they had, maybe we'll catch them in November and ask them about on the next Southeast Roadshow, because phenomenal work coming out of you guys as always. I mean, it's already tough enough logistically to coordinate and quarterback these major events, but now you're dealing with, new meal plans. You're not bringing people into mess halls. You're delivering meals out to the field, and you're going into single beds and maybe bringing in tents and such. And I've heard some pretty amazing stories that hopefully we can get some more conversation around that from the folks that were impacted the hardest here in 2020.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm gonna put Kyra on the spot. I saw you just go and unmute because I know you have dealt with this. You had some pretty bad storms all right in a row and have used that lodging piece for this purpose.
Yes, we have. We have used ARCOS lodging and the resource functionality to maintain our meal arrangements. So we knew exactly where our crews were staying and where they were eating, so then we could manage our capacity. It was a challenge because you really had to heavily use the ARCOS functionality to split your shifts and then determine when you're going to have folks go eat. So before you would say, okay, dinner is at this location between 7 and 10. Well, you can't do that now. You have to say, okay, you 5 crews, you're going to go eat at 7, and you 5, you're going to go at 8. You guys are going to go at 9. You guys are going to go at 10. So it was a logistical nightmare. But the ARCOS solution definitely helped with that. As far as mutual aid, when we've sent and received a lot of mutual aid over the past couple of months. So when we send mutual aid, we provide the receiving company with our pandemic response plan, and they have to follow it, or they have to follow their own. They have to really follow ours and their own, whichever is more stringent. So an example would be we sent crews to Maine. They were not doing single person rooms. They were doubling up, but we require our folks to be in single rooms. So that was what they had to follow. When we internally receive mutual aid, we ask for their pandemic response plan as well, and we make sure that we follow that and ours. There may be slight differences, but we need to follow both.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Patrick, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You are down in that area as well, and I don't know if you were impacted by the hurricanes, but obviously the area around you definitely was. And how did you deal with mutual assistance or any restoration work you had to do?
Yeah, we were 1 for 3. We missed Laura and Delta, but Sally got us right in the service territory gut. When we had to change, we normally have our staging areas where we bring a lot of crews in. We had to set up some satellite staging areas, divide kind of where material and meals would be served. Usually we would have one large facility bringing in a whole lot of crews to feed them buffet style at that location. But we had to separate that out and start packaging meals up for those employees, so it was not feeding buffet style. Had material post at several smaller locations instead of one large location to help with the social distancing there. One of the bigger things was on the inside with operations, because usually when you have a storm of that size, all of our storm management and team and our managers and supervisors from all across power delivery like to gather there in that storm center. Well, normally that's a whole lot of people, and for us in Mobile, that's also where our hub of operations is, from where all of our trouble dispatch is coming from. And so we had to look at using our brothers and sisters from across the company and operating from, fortunately, Alabama is still set up where we have 5 distribution control centers. So we were able to spread out and use those other distribution control centers to help manage that storm. So we had 5 times the number of people, or 4 times the number of operators helping out on the storm with switching and tagging and that type of thing, supporting those outside crews, and then managing remotely from those locations, working to get service restored. So there was a lot of feedback that came from our Hurricane Sally reviews, and some of it was very good, and some of it is going to stay incorporated moving into the future. So we found some good things out. that really stressed us. And of course, like, you don't know what you can do until you're forced to do it. And
Yeah.
that occurred on a number of different occasions and really helped us manage a storm in a record amount of time, we think, because we had so many resources. Of course, we got lucky that it only hit one division and did not go straight up the state. That's a whole different deal when it cuts a path across your whole service territory, and you have all of your resources working at their locations trying to get lights back on. But it was good. We did a good job, I think.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, congrats to you.
Yeah. Question for the group, I guess, and it's kind of pertaining to all of these topics that we did, is the work piece of the equation here. Obviously, with COVID, you probably didn't want people coming into service centers to pick up or drop off work packets. I know some of you have large work management systems where you might have mobile ticket delivery and some of you don't. Just curious to see how you handled the distribution of work or distribution or damage assessments for some of these storms, either one really, and how you did that in a more socially distanced way, or if you were challenged with it and had some challenges with it. I'm gonna call on Sarah. Maybe.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Now we can, yep.
We haven't had many storms since the beginning of the pandemic. We're actually just coming into our prime storm season, late fall and winter, obviously. So we do have a work manager that is updated through tablets that our crews come in and pick up. So most of our work is managed that way through the tablets and updated and sent out through our clerks. Our clerks for each region are working from home. So that process is a little different because they're usually in what we call the field business center for the region. They plan all the work and send it directly to the tablets, and then those are updated. So it does require some of our staff to go in and out of the office. We established a schedule of time, so we had more of a staggered start date to ensure that crews weren't overlapping.
Okay, great. And then Ronnie from Southern Maryland. Haven't heard from you in a little while. I'm going to put you on the spot if you're available to talk about that. Maybe she's not available. Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Hello? Oh, hey, sorry.
No, that's okay.
We really didn't get hit that hard either. Again, knock on wood. Please don't jinx myself. At the beginning of August, we went through Tropical Storm Isaias, I believe is how we pronounce it. That gave us a pretty good depth there. We were fortunate enough we had already staggered our crews where we had some coming in at 6:30, some coming in at 7:30 type thing, and then our servicemen reporting at 7, which helped. As far as coming into the shop, we limited that as much as possible and actually had the foreman on the construction side, actually had them pass out whatever work was needed the evening before in the actual bay where the truck would come in to pick their work up. So there was actually no transaction hand-wise, I guess you would say. As far as the outage management part of it, which is what I've run in the operations center, we did all that through Mob Light in our outage management system. And we would just call out our first responders, our service trucks as needed. No one reported to the shop. They all stayed at home until we actually used ARCOS to call them out. And we actually at the beginning put everybody on a holiday schedule within ARCOS so they would be available 24/7, kind of like they didn't even have it.
Oh, we might have lost you a little bit there.
Sorry, can you hear me?
It's okay. Can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. Actually, made them available 24/7 and just used ARCOS to call them out. And then they were responsible for releasing themselves at the end of a outage. And then they would wait to hear back from ARCOS to come back out.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. So we are at the top of the hour and we're trying to get done by 1:30 today. So I'm just curious, I know David, you joined to kind of learn a bit about what people are doing. Obviously everyone's here to kind of share best practices and ask questions. Is there anything that you wanted to know or anyone else wanted to know that we didn't cover today, or a question you have for someone else now that you've kind of heard what they've done over the last few months?
I guess at this point, no. I'm just trying to ascertain how people are using it and see if we need to pursue, looking into Crew Manager or any of the various modules as well. But it's nice to sit back and listen to see. I mean, you're talking the southeast or the southern area of the country, which has just been bludgeoned this year with, it seems like every cloud that comes through the Gulf of Mexico goes over them. I don't know why, but so interesting to see. We have storms up here. We have a lot of snow. In fact, we've gotten snow on the ground already this year, and we're getting 4 or 5 more inches tonight. So differing circumstances, but it's nice to hear what people are using, and so I can pitch to my management, what I think we need to either do or not do. Eh?
That's great. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for the group?
Yeah, I have one, Patrick.
Okay.
I guess it's for the Crew Manager folk, and I don't know if research assists. What we're trying to, the question we're trying to answer now is, like I said, we have 5 centers spread out throughout the state. So we're looking for an application that would let us know, and we're trying to get our operators in those 5 centers to be able to come in and support each other on a regular shift. So that may mean a Mobile operator working a day shift in the Birmingham area while sitting in a Mobile chair. So just remotely all across the state, it doesn't matter where you're sitting because you can work that area. So we need to find the application to let them know, well, what crews do I have available that day in Birmingham? And also let the field know what operators are working which areas that particular day as they come on shift. So is that something the Crew Manager can handle when we look at the scope of what it can do?
I believe so. John or Jim Nowak, I'm going to kind of throw this question to you, or anyone else who's using Crew Manager in this way in this group. But John, you can go first if you'd like.
Yeah, I would just say initially from what you said, absolutely. But it's best hearing it from current Crew Manager users. If they understood what the ask was, you guys should chirp up. And
I kind of would take a shot.
What's that?
Can you? We're relatively. This is from Southern Maryland. We're relatively new at using Crew Manager, but the one good thing that I've noticed that we've used it for, which may be helpful, is we set our perspectives up so that each perspective would handle a certain area. So that's how we designate what area certain trucks will be in. Our southern area would have so many of the trucks and they would be just dedicated to the southern area. Our central area would have these other trucks and they would be dedicated to that. And what I like about Crew Manager when we set it up this way is if we put the timeline up along with our perspective, it will actually show us who is available, who is currently working. And not only does it show us that, but it can also show us future statuses of those crews. Are they close to getting to the break time, or are they actually on break? How long have they been on break? How much longer do they? That's to my operators in the operations center, because the operators never were responsible for tallying up the men's time, we always relied on word of mouth from the foreman to let us know who was available, who wasn't, who was getting ready to go on break. We no longer have to worry about that. A simple click and a quick look at the screen, and we know exactly who's available, who's currently working. It's been very beneficial to us in that perspective, if that helps at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that, Ronnie. You've been live for maybe about 2 months, and as some of you seasoned crew manager users know, that the system can continue to be flexible and provide additional value over time. But right out of the gate for the SMECO team, Ronnie, that's a big win. Thanks for sharing that story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is Jim. I was just going to let Patrick know that we are just now rolling it out, crew manager Patrick. But our purpose is we have 5 centers in each state. So we got 1 center in St. Pete, 1 in Raleigh, 1 in Charlotte, 1 in Cincinnati, 1 in Plainfield, Indiana. And the goal for us is that anybody in one of those states would be able to dispatch from the other state. So it's been a challenge trying to get everybody to agree, but we're getting there, and that's what we're rolling out.
So, and I understand, crew manager looks kind of outward, telling you what crews are available to you, but we're also wanting that, I guess, use it to look inward to say, okay, like I said, here's the operators that are from the field perspective, looking back into the center. Here are the operators that are assigned to your particular area for this day. So they can see who they're working with when they come on shift. Birmingham, knowing who's the Mobile guy that's working with them today, and have that on that kind of dashboard or the app or whatever. So everybody who can see it will have that information readily available to them.
Yeah, and you can build that in there for that purpose. Of course, the same thing. Everybody has to maintain it, but you can even go out to the future, Patrick, and look and see what you got.
Yeah.
So I'm not the expert on crew manager for us, Patrick, but if you get a hold of me or Jamie's the expert. We'll be glad to show you what we got going on.
Okay. Yeah, and I've reached out to Ronnie too. Well, thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions for the group before we move on and wrap up? Okay. Well, if you do have questions, feel free to send them to me, submit them on the Slido app that we've been using today, and we'll definitely get back with you or connect you to the person that you heard talking today for that purpose. So for now, I'm going to move on, and I'm just going to tell a quick story about one of our clients who used ARCOS for pandemic response, and they actually used the mobile workbench solution. So I'm just going to give you a little example of how ARCOS can be used in the field for different purposes, including COVID response. So in early March, and this was at the beginning of the pandemic, really, Grant County came into contact with a consultant they thought had coronavirus. And so even though the test turned out to be negative or a false positive, the situation triggered an order to activate their incident command center. And so their CTO told us that what's at risk is the availability of the people to get the work done, the ability to keep up under change processes, which many of you have talked about today. And so what they did is they had already recently deployed Mobile Workbench, ARCOS Mobile Workbench. And so what they were using it for is they were enabling crews in the field to accept trouble ticket work on their mobile devices without having to come back in to the service center. So that replaced their old fax-based system, which required people to come into the service center to pick up work orders. And with what happened with COVID, what they did is they expanded Mobile Workbench to assign all types of field work instead of just trouble tickets. So since their expansion, supervisors and customer service and dispatch now can create those tickets and have them sent directly to the crews in the field based on things like availability, proximity, skill sets or certifications, and readiness. So crews can then update the tickets and mark completion all while they're still in the field, and that allows them to accept the next assignment more quickly. So I just wanted to give you an example. This is just one example of how a customer is using ARCOS to help manage their pandemic response. And if you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us. And then we also do have a really nice COVID-19 response page on our website. And it has this use case. It has several different ways that your peers are using ARCOS for COVID response, maybe things you've thought about and are using, or maybe there's a new idea there that might help you. So just keep that in mind. And so now we're just gonna finish out. We'll do our final Q&A. We'll wrap it up. And then I have a couple updates about the ARCOS conference as well. So thank you so much, first of all, for participating. It's been like a very good roundtable with a lot of good conversation. Personally, I always learn so much from these, and I hope, you know, you were able at least to get some of that sharing of best practices together virtually today. So if you have any other questions for the ARCOS team, I'm going to ask John, all the ARCOS people, if you're available to unmute. And if you have any questions for us before you go, please just unmute yourself and ask. We have some experts on the line today that can help you with any questions. Anyone? Okay. Well, no questions. That was easy. Thanks for being on the line today. So before we go, I am going to just do a quick conference update. Obviously, today we looked at top challenges for pandemic response, how the region is handling emergencies and pandemic together, and examples of how y'all are using ARCOS for pandemic response. So the ARCOS conference, and this is a little outdated because the registration date has moved to November 1st, but there's a reason for that. So before we go today, I just want to announce, first of all, the ARCOS conference is happening. It is definitely happening in 2021. Right now, the structure of it, and some of you on the call today are on the steering committee, so you know this already, but we're going to do a hybrid model. So the conference is in Florida, and basically we're working with the hotel to make sure the in-person version is as safe as possible, following COVID, obviously procedures, and moving things outside where we can, of course. And then we're also going to have a virtual element. It will be limited compared to the in-person version. So the in-person version is usually about 4 days long. The virtual will be 2 days long, but we are having a virtual option if you're not able to travel, if you're still under travel restriction, anything that comes up there. So because of all these factors, we've delayed opening the conference registration to November 1st. We are investing in a virtual platform that will help us manage the virtual side of things and the in-person together. And then we're also making sure our registration site is as smooth as possible, so you can kind of pick and choose what you'd like to do there. So November 1st is the updated date for registration opening. And if you registered for last year, you got a pass for 2021 because of the cancellation, you will get that registration code by the end of the month this month. So you can use it when registration opens. And that's good for either type of registration, virtual or in person. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to just shoot me an email or a phone call or text. More than happy to answer questions about that. We are obviously still working on some of the elements, but these roadshows have been a great test as to how to do some of the roundtables that we've done in the past. So appreciate you working with us for these as well. And then last but not least, just want to thank you so much for attending today and being flexible with this kind of new normal for events this year. And again, hopefully you got a small way to share best practices with your peers. And again, if you have any questions for us or others who joined today, just reach out to me and I can get you connected with the right person. And that's it. Stay safe, everyone, and I hope you have a great week and appreciate all of your time and effort today.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thanks, Jenna.
All right. Well, everyone have a great week and weekend and happy Halloween, all that good stuff. We'll see you hopefully in
Same
the
to you.
Southeast Roadshow. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. It's awesome seeing some familiar names here. Take care.